Hello, one and all, it's your Dr. Stone, chapter 207, linking the circuit diagram. And this chapter confirmed a lot of fan theories. I mean, first off, they actually left India. I did not see that coming. I mean, a lot of people online were saying, oh, this will be the chapter, they're going to leave India. But I just disagreed. I mean, India's been on the map for such a very, very long time, and they just left it like that after just like 4 or 5 chapters. I mean, at the very least, I think they still need to refuel on all that biofuel to actually make it to the next destination, but I guess not. Very, very curious, and I actually have 2 questions about this. I mean, first off, is anyone actually, staying behind? Because it seems like they're splitting the crew, but are they just, splitting it between all the Indian people they woke up here, while the rest of the main cast are heading out? Or is anyone on the main cast going to stay behind to help start up Math City? I'm actually not sure about that. And secondly, where exactly are they going? Because India, Japan is not too long of a journey. They can actually make it there fairly quickly in a week or so, and then they can wake up everyone back in Japan, make sure everyone there is okay, get some extra help, some extra manpower, and then head out to Papua New Guinea or Australia to start up the next city. Or are they just going to go to Papua New Guinea, then Australia, and then head back to Japan? Again, I'm not really sure about that. I'm not really sure what their goal is going to be here, but it really does feel, like Japan isn't too far out of the way, and they just really want to reunite with all their friends who have been petrified for a very, very long time, so maybe the next destination will be Japan. I'm, again, not sure about that. Anyway, though, second fan theory was confirmed was that back in the past, when Ryu kept bothering Sai again and again and again, asking him to do all this math, it wasn't because, he was being greedy or selfish, but because he wanted to spend time with his brother, and that is not a fan theory I saw coming. When I first saw it, I realized it made so much sense, because so much of what Ryu asked of Sai was basically just busy work, figuring out resistance on sails, figuring out optimal track on a racetrack. I mean, it's either stuff he doesn't actually need to know, or stuff he could just, find out by Googling it. But the fact that Ryu kept going to Sai every time was a sign that, he just wanted to spend time with his brother, and that's because a third fan theory that was confirmed this chapter, that Ryu and Sai are only half-brothers. And I was actually theorizing back when Sai was first introduced that because Sai was a child of a mistress, he wasn't really welcomed in the Nagami family, wasn't really treated as family, and that's why he fled to India, and that turned out to be true! Yay! But what I definitely wasn't expecting was to find out that Ryu was also the child of a mistress, not the child of the matriarch, meaning that he was also on the outs in the family, and this just really, really changes how I look at him as a character. All the work he's done to rebuilding Nagami Corp wasn't about reclaiming his birthright, but rather reclaiming that which he could never possess. The company that he's always desired his entire life, but was never able to obtain because he was a child of a mistress instead. Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. And this really does get me thinking. I mean, I said this before, but I really do think that Sai and Ryu's father or uncle, whoever actually was in charge of the company, is gonna end up becoming a villain down the road. He's gonna get revived and then he's gonna try and steal the company from Ryu through a bunch of underhanded business tactics. Oh, that'd be exciting. It'd be so exciting to see Ryu versus his father/uncle. I'm not actually sure which of them is in charge of the family, because in the past chapter, when Ryu was first introduced, it was said that he got his allowance from his uncle, so I thought he'd be, the head of the family, but then I'm not sure. That's definitely weird that, that Ryu and Sai, as basically the nephews, would be viewed as, the property of the family. I'm not sure about that. I'm definitely not sure about that. Also, another possibility is, I said this before, definitely didn't make a lot of sense back then, but what if, Ryu's father/uncle, the CEO, is actually working with the Y-Man and is still alive up on the moon? The reason I didn't like this theory in the past was because, well, then why wouldn't they have brought Ryu along with them? Why wouldn't they have brought Ryu to the moon as well? And it makes much more sense because he was a child of a mistress. He was outcast from the rest of the family, and because they didn't view Ryu as part of the family, they didn't bring him along when they all went to the moon to be safe and preserved when the rest of humanity was turned to stone. That's an absolutely insane theory, but it really does feel like they're building up the CEO to be a big bad, to be a villain down the road, and I'm just not sure about that. I'm so excited to actually see what happens with that moving forward. Anyway, though, back in Corn City, everybody's working really, really hard to build all these metal donuts to get the computer working for Senku. Yay! And we do take a step forward as we actually build a calculator that's able to calculate up to 255. That's 8 binary digits. That's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yeah, that's 255 in binary. Huzzah! Unfortunately, though, the actual diagram for the circuits is so complicated, it can't really be explained, over the phone, over radio, And if they actually want to fax it by hand like they did before, that would be just so utterly painful. It would take them, literal days of effort, and even one small mistake could lead to some major problems. So instead, Xeno decides to build the internet, or at least build an actual fax machine. So good for you, Xeno. That is a very impressive invention. And I really do love how this device is designed. Basically, it converts the entire image into a canvas and recognizes each pixel, saying, okay, this square is black, therefore I transfer over that's black. This square isn't black, therefore I transfer over that's not black. And this allows it to recreate the image thousands of miles away, and it is definitely impressive. Though, honestly, it might actually be a little bit too impressive, because the image we actually get is just so beautiful, and oh my god, I would so love to see how Boichi actually went about creating this thing. It looks so cool, but I couldn't help but notice that there are some shades of gray in here. It's not just black and white, there are actually shades of gray here, which definitely makes the image look better, but it would require the device to be so much more complicated to actually recognize black, white, or somewhere in between. I mean, that's just a whole level of complexity that isn't really needed to transfer over these blueprints. So I'm curious about that. I mean, is the device actually able to do that, or is that just, a mistake on the artist's part? I'm curious, very curious. Though again, I do just love this image, and what I really love is the little details on the side, because if you look on the side of the image, you actually see that it's not a straight line, it's crooked, it's uneven, because, this device Senku made in the Stone Age, and is doing his first test by transferring an image, a full photograph, thousands and thousands of miles away. So the fact that it's only wrong by that little bit, by just a pixel or two here and there, is utterly amazing. I freaking love it. And I really could see this being like an artifact 1,000 years in the future. This image still preserved as a sign of the first time humanity managed to send images over the internet again. Huzzah! Though for some reason, this group photo really does seem to upset Ryu and Sai, and Jen's really trying to figure out why. He's like, okay, how do I go about this? Should I, go in casually calm? Should I mention it? Should I wait for him to mention it? What should I do here? I was just spending so much time trying to figure out a plan, only for Chelsea to literally burst into the door head first and ask, hey Sai, what's up with you in that picture? Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. Seriously, everybody needs a Chelsea in their life. Everybody needs a Chelsea just to pop in and say, well, what about this? What's going on with you? Why do you look so sad? I mean, yes, it can definitely come off as rude, but sometimes, just waiting for the right way to ask something, just waiting for the moment to be right, just wastes so much freaking time, and Chelsea can really cut to the core of the issue. Good for you, Chelsea. Good for you. And as we find out that Ryu and Sai were children mistresses and not children of matriarchs, therefore they were excluded from the family. And that includes the family portrait. And I just have a lot of questions about this portrait, mainly the man in the background. I mean, the Twitter page, Dr. Stone Trivia, actually calculated his height and said this man must be about 10 feet tall. How on God's green earth is there a 10-foot tall man in this photo and nobody seems bothered by it? I mean, is their father, grandfather, uncle, whatever, really just a giant like this? I don't know. I'm very curious about that. But we also see that in the actual people of India who they wake up. They are also giants who, are like twice as tall as Ryu. So, yeah, maybe the world of Dr. Stone just has really freaking tall people. Anyway, though, because Sai was looked down upon, he was turned to a loyal soldier who could focus only on math. While Ryu, nobody can control Ryu, so they didn't even bother trying. He was just a wild child they tried to ignore as best they could. Oh, I love you, Ryu. I freaking love you. And eventually this led to Sai running away, even though he was still a child, a young teenager at this point. And since he went back to India, and since Chelsea said he was half Indian, I'm guessing that's where his mother lived. Maybe he fled to, go live with his mom instead. I'm not really sure why the family would be so willing to, let their golden egg disappear to run away like that, but it's curious. Very curious. I mean, there's definitely a really interesting backstory of this whole family, and I'm hoping to get some more information. Like I said before, I really would love the CEO, the uncle/father, to actually become a villain down the road. That'd be so amazing. Anyway, Sai fled, and Ryu was just so utterly heartbroken in this moment. Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. And, Chelsea sees the truth in this instantly. Even though she might seem like a dunce, she's able to read through the lines and realize that Ryu kept asking time and time again, not because he wanted to use Sai, but because he wanted a brother. And, she's literally brought to tears over this. Even Jen looks like he's about to cry as well. And, oh God, just as he asked this, Sai realizes, Ryu really was trying to get to know me as a brother. And so they end up playing chess together, and oh, I love this. I freaking love it. There's this brotherly bonding moment they have as they play back and forth. As, Ryu says, I'll be so bored, I desire a worthy opponent to play against on the high seas. Oh god, I love this moment. I freaking love this moment. Just the brotherly bonding here. I mean, seriously, Sai's only been around for like 4 chapters, but he's already one of my favorite characters in this series. That is how good this series is. They can introduce a character and make you fall in love with him almost freaking instantly. And then the next day at Chelsea's a light Sai. Sai's join them. Sai decides to come with them on the open seas as they move forward to their next destination, wherever it might be. I mean, like I said, Japan is fairly close, so I feel like they could just go there to refuel and manpower and wake everyone up to get Chalk and the pig back. I would so love to see that. But at the same time, Papua New Guinea is kind of on the way, and there's one of their destinations. If they go to Papua New Guinea, they should also go to Australia, since it's, right there as well. But I don't know. I just really don't know. Where do you think they're going next? And you think they brought the entire main cast with them? Or do you think they left people behind in India to help start Math City? Because we still haven't actually gotten, the notification Math City established. So curious. Very, very curious about that. But please let me know down below. Be sure to like, subscribe to the next video. And until then, peace!